The war with Iran has shifted international attention away from Gaza, but on the ground many things have been happening. 6 months in, a fragile ceasefire is holding, while control of the Gaza Strip remains divided between Israel and Hamas. The talks about disarmament and recovery, overseen by the US-led Board of Peace, have shown no progress. Hamas, designated by the US and the EU as a terrorist organization, is weakened but not defeated, still maintaining strong ties with its backers and sponsors in Qatar and Iran. But the recent conflict between the US, Israel, and the Gulf states with the Islamic Republic has put it under massive pressure. Hamas leadership, which for decades has been part of Iran's so-called axis of resistance, is also located in Doha. It now finds itself torn between alliances. So what effect did the war with Iran have on Hamas? Where is it heading? And is there any hope for a better future for Palestinians in Gaza at this crossroad? To find out, we're talking to Jaser Abu Mousa, a Palestinian political analyst. Born in Gaza, he recently left the Strip and now works for the Middle East Institute, which is based in Washington D.C. in the US. Jaser, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Louisa, for having me.
So let's start with maybe setting the scene. Can you tell me what is the Hamas's current status in the Gaza Strip? In what state is it?
So in the Gaza Strip, I think Hamas is very weakened, very decapitated, and has lost a lot of assets, either materialistic or in terms of personnel. However, the squeezing the population into 40% of the Gaza Strip and leaving 60% under the Israeli forces' control has given Hamas a lot of push-up, actually, because Hamas is controlling almost 2 million people in a very squeezed space that was 40% of the Gaza Strip. Knowing that the Gaza Strip is one of the most dense population on Earth. Before the war, we had 5,500 people every square meter, but now, if we are doing the math, we have 11,000 people every square meter. And in addition, the situation in the Gaza Strip in terms of humanitarian, in terms of market, in terms of jobs, in terms of everything is a complete catastrophe. And unfortunately, this is the situation that Hamas is weaponizing and is using as a leverage in the face of the world. And I think Hamas is paying, or the people are paying, a lot of a price for Hamas to be relevant, politically relevant. And this is the situation that we are in. I mean, since the ceasefire, and as you described it as a fragile ceasefire, we have 750 people were killed since the ceasefire. And unfortunately, Hamas is leaving its people under the fire, the Israeli fire, to make a political statement. So I think this is a complete powerlessness situation in terms of Hamas power. But the price is very high to leave Hamas as a relevant player.
We will get back to the situation in the Gaza Strip, but we're very interested in bigger developments in the region, especially since the Iran war. What was the status quo before the US-Israeli war in Iran? Because Hamas had support from both the Islamic Republic, but also from Qatar. What did that support look like, and why did it need support from both?
First of all, for Iran, definitely it was a supporter and backer for Hamas. But Qatar, I think it's a different setup. I would not call it support for Hamas directly. Qatar supported the people in Gaza, supported the salaries for the de facto government that was led by Hamas. So Hamas was seeing the lifeline from Iran. And it was a lifeline from Iran. But for Qatar, it's a different story. However, Qatar, with the consent of the United States and Israel, has hosted the leadership of Hamas in Doha and continued to be so. After the war, Hamas has found itself, and considering this situation, Hamas has found itself in a very delicate situation.
Can you explain that dilemma for us?
85% of the Iran missiles have hit the Gulf states, including Qatar, of course. And Hamas was residing in Qatar, Hamas leadership. And after that, Hamas waited for 2 weeks to state a very suicidal diplomatic answer statement, to say the least. And after that, we had seen Qatar is actually kicking out some of Hamas propagandists from Qatar, especially even people that were hosted by Al Jazeera. So because they announced they declared support for Iran publicly, and that's why I think Hamas in a very delicate situation, because they are residing in Qatar, they are protected in Qatar, and at the same time, they are not supporting Qatar in face of the Iranian missiles. And by this, I think Hamas has lost a lot of moral support in the Gulf region. And we will see this, these effects in the near future, actually. So Hamas has been blown up, actually, by the war in Iran and the United States. And I believe in every front, materialistic, moral, and in terms of support.
Even before the war, there were fractions inside of Hamas, a fraction that was more pragmatic and a fraction that was more leaning towards Iran. Who had the upper hand before and who has the upper hand now?
After 2011 and after 2012 in particular, after Hamas leadership has exited from Syria and has declared the cut between the Syrian regime that was supported hugely by Iran and left to Qatar, Iran has stopped supporting the leadership that is in Qatar now and started supporting Gaza directly. And actually, it gave the upper hand for the Gaza-based leadership, starting with Ismail Haniyeh, Yahya Sinwar, the military wing of Hamas. After the decapitation of the Hamas leadership, naming Haniyeh and Sinwar, who were very much aligned with Iran. I think now it's left for the only one based from Gaza and is representing the Gaza point of view is Khalil Hayya. So he's leading the stream that is pro-Iran. And while Khalid Mashal is on the other hand, and Khalid Mashal, according to the documents that were found in Gaza, he was shunned by the IRGC, which is the Islamic Revolution Guard. He was very much abandoned from the leadership. And now I think he's taking some initiative because according to some reporting after the disarmament proposal that was given to Hamas, he was doing some calls to Gaza to discuss this disarmament.
Can I just jump in here? Because that's an interesting moment for Hamas. It's been decapitated. It's trying to find a new leader. Probably they would have to do this quite quickly, and yet they've postponed the election. What does that tell us?
The internal elections were scheduled in February 2025 or January even, and the results were supposed to be announced in late February in 2025. But I think, first of all, we had the month of Ramadan, and we had, by the end of February, we had the war, the regional war between Iran, Israel, and the United States. So I think these factors were delaying the results. And yet, we don't know actually who's given the leadership. After the killing of Sinwar, there was a fear inside Hamas leadership to name someone that takes responsibility for it. So they came up with 5 people leadership council, and you don't know who's taking the lead. So, but now we have Khalil Hayya is negotiating with Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner and Nikolai Mladenov, and Khalid Mashal is based in Qatar and doing the diplomacy work.
So, would you say that this is Hamas at the crossroads, depending on who takes the leadership? Which scenarios are possible?
Absolutely. I think Hamas in a very delicate situation, in a very decisive situation, and they need to decide fast because the come-outs of the war will not be in favor of Hamas in any way. I think they have to be pragmatic if they wanted to be alive and relevant to the situation and to the political game in the region. I think they have to be pragmatic. They have to accept some concessions without being too dragged to the maximalism that they are used to. I'm totally alarmed by the statement of the military spokesperson of Hamas in April 5, when they stated that they will never disarm, they will be aligned with Iran forever, etc. This was another sign um, about the dislocation of Hamas between Iran and between other axes. So Hamas in a very, very decisive situation and very delicate situation.
Do you think a schism is possible?
Um, it's hard to say, but I think it's always possible, given the alignment that is in place. And if Iran continue to support Hamas and continue to support one branch of Hamas, I think, that is very possible.
Coming back to the Gaza Strip, what is the meaning of these different paths, possible paths for the situation in Gaza, and especially for the issue of disarmament?
I'm very, very terribly sad because I've been following this since of course, since the breakout of the war. And in 2024, 2025, I had the opportunity to meet some people that were very much in the negotiations between Hamas and Israel in Doha. I got the impression that the people were the last thing that everyone thinks about. So now we have the situation in Gaza is very grim, very, very dark for the people, I mean. And we have 1.9 million, 2 million people are living in a very dire situations in terms of shelter, in terms of water, in terms of food, in terms of education. And the continuing of wasting time on these solutions, I think it harms only the people, because eventually we have the situation as it is. We have 1.9 million people are displaced. We have 600,000 children are not going to schools for the third year. We have very scarce food. We have very scarce fresh water, and the people who are able to buy food or to buy anything, they are buying triple price or quadrant price for the things that you used to have before. So I think also that there's an Israeli need actually to keep the situation as it is. I mean, but putting the conditions for Hamas to disarm first and then everything will come after. I think this is a very, very damaging preconditions for the people. So the disarmament, I think it's necessary, and I think they will go nowhere without it. But the way that it's sequenced and the way it was framed, I think it's very damaging, and I think it's put to be impossible. I believe that the disarmament should be a means, not an end. It should be a part of political transformation to give the idea and to give the concept that violence is not the way, either politically or either socially. Now, we have a situation that has damaged the social fabric in the Gaza Strip. And the stories that I'm listening every day to Gaza, I'm in contact with Gaza. I'm still having family in Gaza and friends, of course. And what I hear is really alarming and really appalling. And I'm afraid that every day that is wasted on this is damaging, is not in the favor of the Palestinians.
Our community is very interested in having some inside view from someone who's been living in Gaza for most of his life and who knows people on the ground. They wondered about the extent of support for Hamas in the Gaza Strip. Are they supporters or mostly silenced?
So I will give you 2 examples on this. During the war and under the Israeli fire in May 2025 and in March 2025, there were a lot of demonstrations against Hamas in Gaza and over the Gaza Strip. Unfortunately, the Israeli government and the Israeli propaganda has depicted this as fake, as staged by Hamas. I think they were genuine and they were authentic. I don't think that Hamas is enjoying any support more than the core people of Hamas. And according to the last polls that were emerged in, I think, in 2025, the last in December 25, the support of Hamas was low as 18%. But the problem is, and I say this out loud, the problem is the people are very, very busy with the daily survival. I mean, they are waking up, they are busy with acquiring water, with acquiring food. They don't have any kind of political activity. And they don't have this time actually to think about politics because they are occupied with survival. And unfortunately, the survival skills that they have developed, they were lethal. People were, during the time of the GHF and the Gaza Humanitarian Fund, they were ready actually to die for a sack of flour. So now the people are totally occupied, totally busy with the survival, not to care about Hamas or Israel or anything.
Thank you for being with us, Jaser.
Of course.